Hello, everyone. Am I here? I know I'm here, but am I with you wherever you are? I hope so. How are you? How how are your days? How are you feeling about the things you're experiencing? What are you looking forward to? Are you sleeping well? Are you calm? Are you worried? Are you fulfilled? Are you What are you most looking forward to? I wish there were dozens, hundreds, so many responses that we could all hear and reflect upon together. But the thing that I need to get used to in regards to Facebook Live until comments appear is that it's a monologue, and one never knows if one is just monologuing to oneself. And so, with that, I'll share some thoughts on our topic today, which is the qualities, the characteristics, the features, the attributes of participatory development, a, a concept that goes by many names, an approach, a way of decision making, and perhaps even a way of organizing society, and then perhaps even a way of life that is perhaps impossible to date in terms of its essential enduring qualities. Most predominant and inescapable about the participatory approach to development, to change, to growth, to realizing what we most want, and we being, in terms of a participatory sense, we being a group, a community, a locality, and we should also consider more by what we mean by we in terms of a participatory sense. But it's certainly subnational, and it's certainly direct and of immediate proximity. But in regards to its most essential feature, it is that the we makes decisions. The we determines the course ahead, the way forward. The we designs the vision and determines or decides upon the priorities. And not only is that collective, local, community group we identifying what needs to be changed or improved upon or impacted to benefit our lives, but they are also managing that change. They are enacting it, creating it, taking the necessary measures in order for that change to unfold and be experienced, and that the benefits that come about from that change, from the project, from the initiative, from the enterprise, from the business, from the cooperative reflecting the we's will, that those benefits are enjoyed by the we and enhance their days of living. Now, let's say a little more about who is doing this determining and managing and evaluating and implementing and deciding. In general, in the international development field, and as dictated by our hearts, the we is in fact a group of people within a neighborhood, within a village, as members of a town, but they are also people who may experience more marginalization relative to others in this world or in their nation or within their region. The we are people who may have, due to geographic proximity or the availability of whatever measure of natural resources, the scarcity of water, uh, perhaps through social marginalization, but the we have experienced disadvantage, perhaps due to um, environmental causes, perhaps rooted in social, historical, uh, rooted in an ethnicity's relationship to a majority within a country. What is important is that participatory development efforts, which concentrate on the most local level, also centers its efforts and resources on people who need it most, and to address matters of justice and fairness. Due to no act or cause among the participants, they experience difficulty in their lives, and we want the participatory efforts to make the most profound, important difference for them. I wonder if anyone out there, if anyone is out there, and I wonder if anyone has anything to say at this point. Is there a comment? Shall I continue? I shall. How about that? So the first feature we established in that is that it is participatory development is community controlled from design to evaluation in all project development phases, through partnership building, through the definition of the initiative itself, that through, which is the second essential feature, through dialogue, that it is participatory in that it is interactive. It is rooted in direct communication, that it involves, it may involve mediation, certainly consensus building, that the process does create conflict, that as the process unfolds becomes reconciled, which is why, which is another aspect we'll talk about, which is third-party facilitation, which has shown to be an essential dimension of participatory development in order for it to unfold effectively. But that interaction among the community, among the group, among the collective, within the locality, as neighbors, as people who share a geographic space, that their interplay and their working together, analyzing together, formulating together, developing action plans together, that their engagement with each other based on their own self-identified needs, that occurs within a shared space and through listening and speaking and inquiring and together working through the dialogue process in order to achieve a shared sense of direction and movement and purpose and cause. So we said it's community controlled, and we said the second critical feature being dialogue. Let's keep going. The third element touches upon really the sort of brass tactics of what participatory development is. In fact, it's a method. There are thousands of methods, activities, procedures, ways of organizing our communication and the data and information that comes out of that communication, and the kind of information that comes out, and having that information retained and organized in order for us to make decisions utilizing that information. For example, let's draw together as a community a map of where we live, but reflecting how we would like to see it in the future. Reflecting where we would like certain initiatives to be: an irrigation canal, a school, a health clinic, an orchard, a basin for clean water, an area where we can study if we're part of a university community. So it's an activity. It draws out information. It gets us to discuss. We can do it in gender groups and see how the ideas and initiatives that women may put forward and men may put forward, and they could share their respective maps and create awareness among each other of their different needs. And that's one of literally some thousands of methods, and these thousands of methods are broken up into families. So a family may be the first that I heard of in the 90s, participatory rural appraisal. There may be 10 or 12 methods within participatory appraisal, and it includes the mapping exercise I just described. And there are some hundreds of such families, and within each participatory family of methods, there may be a dozen or more methods. And so there are, endless methods out there in order to get us as a community, as a group, as people concerned about where we are and wanting to make a difference. There are thousands of procedures or ways that we can engage or organize our engagement in order for us to move along a path toward deciding what we want and creating the individual responsibilities or group responsibilities in order to move forward. And also, there are methods to deal with our conflict with each other. What if along the participatory process our conflict becomes difficult to reconcile? Well, there are participatory approaches to help us deal with that. Like, for example, um, sharing our story, sharing how we feel, and hopefully that sharing of experience will elicit recognition from the other party or parties. And after we may share, we may also be shared with, and we listen and acknowledge, and that may lead to an apology. And so there are community-based approaches of reconciling differences that could help local people work through the challenges that inevitably occur as they engaged in participatory development. And so that is the third element to emphasize, that it is an approach that embodies approaches, activities, methodologies that are flexible, that emphasize visual, like the mapping exercise I described. Not all of us read. Not all of us retain information that's spoken to us. Some of us retain it better when it's presented in a visual way. And so we don't want to create barriers for people's engagement in these methodologies. We want unhindered, comfortable access by everyone in that locality in order for them to be part of the activity experience. And it's those activities. And we don't have to be, committed to any one of those families, hundreds of families or more. We don't have to, there's no one family that's the end all be all. And so, there's flexibility. And oftentimes we don't want to even employ a method. As a community, we have traditional ways of resolving our conflicts or reconciling our different points of view. Rural Morocco has beautiful ways of bringing people together that may be, differing, and oftentimes it's the elders in subtle, respected ways speak with the parties and eventually bring them together. And it's that, that could be called a participatory method, but it is based on methods that already exist in that locality and that have obviously, been applied over generations. And so therefore, are completely viable and can be quite effective. Hello to you as well. It's nice I'm grateful for your hello very much. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing well. And so we said community control is the first, we said dialogue is the second, and now we said activities a third. The fourth, and I think after the fourth, I'll conclude. And Amin, share. It may just be you and me. I'm not quite sure, but share any thought, any question, and but the third is the importance, necessity of local institutions, non-government organizations, associations, cooperatives, the local organizations that reflect the interest and will of the people that created those organizations. Those are critical in order to carry development forward. There's this question I remember early on in my study of this, that these institutions are a precondition for sustainable development, that they are without which we cannot have enduring change. And so what I would say to that is this, that it's certainly not a precondition in order to start. That we can, as a community, as a neighborhood, as a group of concerned people that want to change our life experience and enhance our livelihood and have better education and cleaner water and create a better world for our children and our families and for everyone around us, that we can embark in that process without having created an NGO or an association or an organization that is registered and has a bank account and has bylaws and a financial management system. And we can begin. We can design, we can prioritize, we can create our action plan, we can embark and move upon the change we need and want, and we should, and not accept any precondition to the participatory process to begin. However, as the process unfolds, as implementation of that canal or of that tree planting or of whatever enterprise we as the local people have determined, as that initiative evolves, it's very hard to imagine its enduring or sustainability without ultimately creating the civil organization in order to maintain it and manage it and see it into the future. Because eventually projects do require budgets and they do require management. And in order to build partnerships for greater growth, we need to have that organizational accountability and sophistication and representative leadership or that point of contact that the collectivity jointly determines to be that point of contact or representative. And so in order to raise resources and enter into partnerships with government, in order to have business relationships, in order to manage and create development beyond a certain phase, we will need an organizational entity. And thankfully in Morocco, there are the laws enable us, encourage us to do that. That every group has the right to create an organization that so reflect their sense of purpose and mission. And that is a huge space that is enabled by Moroccan society because it allows anyone and everyone across the nation to act upon the change that they seek. Do we have to register, and do we have to report, and do we have to have accountable systems and provide on a consistent, timely basis information to, in this case, the provincial authorities or the Ministry of Interior? We certainly do. I would see that too as an opportunity to that reporting requirement. I would see that as an opportunity to share about our organizational mission, to sensitize the to whom we may report about our collective approach, about the needs that we have, about the challenges that we're undergoing, about our the difficulties that we face, about the opportunities that we want to explore, about the financing and resources that we need. And so is it a legal obligation to report? Yes. Is it a something that organizations should be eager to do and focus heavily on its reporting? Absolutely yes, because we want to seize every opportunity to share about our purpose and why we're an organization to begin with, and about the community needs that are most important to the people. As an NGO, as a non-government organization, we have the opportunity to create new streams of development in our locality, new sources of income. We can deal with matters of erosion and explore agricultural opportunities. We can create artisanal cooperatives. We can benefit, we can support girls who may not have had the chance to go to secondary and high school, which is a painful, tragic reality in so much of rural Morocco, that we can support opportunities for their growth and empowerment and employability and the chance to return to school. And so we can diversify, we can create new avenues of meeting the range of livelihood and human needs that we have. We can, as an NGO, we can try to ensure shared benefits, that people that may not get to benefit, the landless, the widow, the people who have through circumstance that may be carried from past generations even, have not had fairness or the same access as others, that as an NGO we can promote justice and more sharing of benefits that come out of new projects. And critically as well, they manage the change. The activities that constitute a project, they can coordinate and move forward and plan and reach out to external governmental and other private non-governmental groups to seek assistance. And so they are both coordinators within the locality, but also coordinators and partnership builders from the outside to the outside of that community. And so they play a critical role. Let's say a potential concern about NGOs, and when I was thinking about this today, of whether we have this challenge in Morocco ourselves at the High Atlas Foundation, in general, I would say that there is when we look at global literature, what are some of the concerns beyond Morocco about the relationships between NGOs and government? Well, one can make the case that clean drinking water is a governmental responsibility to provide, and that or that building a classroom is a governmental responsibility, or all the things that I described. One can make the case that it's It's the duty of the public sector to enable uh, communities to have. And so, and yet we're saying that NGOs can organize and create these and meet these very needs. And so, um, is it a matter of government then shifting responsibilities to NGOs, responsibilities that the government ought to have? What I would say to that is this, that um, it's really what we have experienced in Morocco is a matter of partnership, and that not any one sector can provide all things. And therefore, it is the fulfillment that individually and collectively that we seek, that fulfillment comes with NGO government partnership in order to, for example, raise the resources in order to implement the canal. For us, we receive a lot of land from the government in order to build community nurseries from different government agencies. We've received that kind of important support, including financial. And so the other thing too is we've been working in Morocco for 20 years. We've had initiatives, I believe, in all 12 regions, including the Sahara, the Moroccan Sahara, the Western Sahara, the Moroccan Sahara. And we've never been asked to alter or change what we do, which is participatory development. We've only been encouraged and supported. And one of the reasons I suggest that to be that could explain that. Why are we supported in what we do, and with the many partnerships, municipal, provincial, regional, and national, with the different public ministries, is because of the effectiveness of reporting and the effectiveness of what happens when we make the related, the relevant government divisions, ministries at the different administrative tiers, to make them aware of what we're doing before we do it, and to let them know of the results of what we did after it's done, and to seek their participation and partnership. And so the more that we communicate, the more that we share information about the needs of the people according to how they express their needs, the more we do that, the more forthcoming are the resources and capacities of the public sector in order to support that local change. And that has been our experience in Morocco. So I've been talking for 33 minutes. That may be a record for me, believe it or not. And so I'm thinking to just sort of conclude here. Is there any comment anyone would like to share before I conclude? I hope that this was worthwhile somehow. And I'll just say that it's I imagine it to be very hard to work in a country where we can't create the civil organizations that we seek, where participatory approaches and methods are distrusted, where external funding or international funding is discouraged or not allowed, where women's participation is not a right and not considered not just a human right, but a matter of basic uh, humanity and way of being. But all of these challenges which exist in our world, we don't experience in Morocco. The participatory approach um, is the way of the land if we were to do it. It doesn't mean that it's given to us. What it means is that we are given the space to enact it if we so can and do and understand how. Uh, that that we can create the civil organizations based on our desire and future that we want. And so there aren't such fundamental obstacles to our free association with each other, no matter our gender, no matter our background or location, that these are legal guarantees. And so therefore, we're given this enormous opportunity to enact participatory change with government partnership across the kingdom. Now, it's so hard to do in any one place and to support it until it is self-sustaining. It's so very hard. And it's a multi-year process in any one place in order for it to have the momentum where it's locally carried forward with the management and financial and other kinds of complexity it needs to maintain its growth and transparency and all those things. So even as it is so hard, it's also so entirely possible and ours if we so choose to make it real. The challenge is not a lack of will, a lack of desire, no. The challenge is a lack of knowing how. That not enough of us have experienced the unfolding of participatory driven change, of community determination, and how that's facilitated and catalyzed. Not enough of us have gone through that experience in order for it to be launched in every of the thousands of villages that constitute the rural countryside and the countless neighborhoods that make up Morocco's cities. Even though it's part of essential charters of the nation and laws of the nation, we need to have programs that enable us to know how we can make it manifest and experienced so that, in fact, our livelihoods and our personal and familial group growth becomes tangible. I will conclude and say that there is perhaps one could say, well, uh, based on your own disposition, Yossef, you say that there's urgency. Maybe based on my own impatience or my own wrestling with development in Morocco over 27 years, where I now say it's urgency. It is urgent, but I mean that from based on my honest observation and years of travel in this country that I love and given myself to, that it is urgent, and that the precipitous fall in girls' education is completely wrenching, and that the agricultural transition is not at all widely experienced, though desperately needed. And if we went, and clean drinking water after all the decades I've been here still remains unfulfilled for far too many people, and still the most common priority expressed by rural communities. And we can go on, but when we have such conducive societal programs and policies and laws, and yet not enough fulfillment, it creates this sense of now is the time. And so I wish all of you the very best as you, in wherever you are, in whatever capacity, with whomever you can, take whatever step possible in order to, as one, make the change that we need today, that we need in our lives as soon as humanly possible. And so with that, I wish you happiness and health and joy and fulfillment, not just developmentally, but in all dimensions of who we are as people. Take care of yourselves. Bye.